My task is to explain the apparently transpersonal, or paranormal elements suggested in the Cayce readings. My approach is decidedly reductionistic, a term I use unhesitatingly and with approval, and therefore tends to look for the simpler, more earthy interpretation of any paranormal claim, whether it be in the realm of ufology, medicine, astrology, or psychic gifts. Thus, in the case of Edgar Cayce's trance readings, I have employed the principal tool of my trade, Occam's razor. Essentially what this entails is shaving down the extraordinary claims surrounding Cayce's readings and attempting to discover a more ordinary explanation. Now, Occam's razor is not a magic blade, and it should be remembered that it doesn't always work. It so happens that some phenomena are not quantifiable or reducible. They resist wholesale reductionism and must be understood on entirely new levels of explanation. It may be true to say that a futuristic novel, like Aldous Huxley's Island, is ultimately comprised of letters, 26 individually distinct symbolic units, but entirely misleading to suggest that reading those components in isolation is all that is necessary to understand Huxley's meaning and intention. Obviously, the novel must be read in its entirety, from whole sentences to whole chapters to the whole book, in order to properly appraise all of its various facets. Thus the spirit of reductionism is not to deflate everything no matter what to its atomic structure, but rather to simplify and reduce those things which are amiable to such reduction. To say that water is H2O is illuminating, since we get a deeper insight into how and why water is formed. It is what philosophers of mind, like the Churchlands, call into theoretic reduction, an entirely appropriate and meaningful way to grapple with physical mysteries. But to say that the Encyclopaedia Britannica is nothing more than alphabet manipulation is to completely miss its most important feature, information. Such information, though comprised of smaller units, whether they are comprised of English, French, or mathematical bits, cannot be comprehended until its higher levels of organization are ascertained and understood: the word, the sentence, the paragraph, the page, the chapter, etc. It is on those higher levels where the fullness of information conveyed in the encyclopedia can be appreciated. But keep in mind one important caveat: regardless of how sophisticated, or higher level order, our information may be, as in the case of the printed or online versions of the Encyclopaedia Britannica, it is always built algorithmically, 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, A, B, C, 1 letter, 1 word, 1 sentence, 1 paragraph, etc. Our world is a scaffolding project, and the closer we pay attention to the various steps inherent to that scaffolding, the more accurate and precise our descriptions of the universe become. How this relates to the field of parapsychology in general and to Edgar Cayce specifically is twofold. 1. Before we entertain theories that are trans-rational, we should attempt to discover explanations which are rational or pre-rational. And 2. If it so happens that no adequate scientific explanation is possible, even with our current state of advanced technology, we should not succumb to ad hoc transcendental theorizing. Why? Because the very moment we opt for skyhooks, Daniel Dennett's lovely phrase for non-algorithmic guesses in contradistinction to cranes, which are algorithmic and procedural, we have, more or less, surrendered any hope for a communicable understanding of why so-and-so actually transpired. To be sure, this does not mean that we cannot wildly speculate any number of possibilities for the odd event, but rather that we test those speculations in the empirical world. If we fail to do this, and this seems to be habitual among various New Age practices and beliefs, we are then left open to an almost infinite array of competing stories which rely more on faith than reason.